You are not your past. You are not your name, your job title, your wounds, or even your memories. Those are just patterns, neural circuits fired and wired together over time. But when you wake up to the realization that the you've known was just a familiar story running on autopilot, something remarkable begins to stir. And that stirring is the signal that it's time to break free from the illusion of permanence. The power of identity shift begins here. Most people think transformation is about fixing something, losing weight, making money, ending bad habits. But real transformation has nothing to do with improvement. It's about becoming someone else entirely. That's the essence of identity shift. Not fixing the old self, but surrendering it, dismantling it, and stepping into a self that exists beyond what anyone has ever known you to be. We live inside the stories we tell ourselves, and those stories are chemically reinforced by the emotions we keep recycling. When you remember your past, you feel the same emotions, which triggers the same thoughts, which leads to the same actions, and those actions reinforce the same identity. That's not living, that's reliving. You're not creating, you're surviving. Your brain is a record of the past. Every experience you've ever had, every betrayal, every failure, every label you've accepted, it's all stored neurologically, firing automatically as your default operating system. But the moment you decide that you are no longer that version of yourself, your brain enters unfamiliar territory. It gets uncomfortable. It gets noisy. That's the signal that the old personality is beginning to die. You must be willing to become no one, to step into the unknown without a name, a label, a limitation, to activate the field of infinite possibilities. This is not just poetic. This is biological. When you begin to think new thoughts, feel new emotions, and take actions not rooted in your history, you literally prune old neural connections and grow new ones. You are rewiring your brain. That is neuroplasticity. That is change at the identity level. But identity shift doesn't happen just because you want it. Desire alone isn't enough. You must teach your body emotionally what your future feels like before it's made manifest. The body is the unconscious mind. It believes in repetition, not intention. You may say, I am confident. But if your body has memorized anxiety for the last 10 years, it won't believe you. So you must rehearse that new future self until your biology reflects that change. This is why meditation, visualization, and elevated emotion matter so deeply. Because when you combine a clear intention, a vision of your future self, with a heightened emotion, you condition the body to believe it's already living in that future. And when the body believes, the brain rewires. When the brain rewires, perception shifts. When perception shifts, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, your life changes. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. So if you're living from your past identity filled with fear, lack, guilt, you magnetize experiences that confirm that identity. But the moment you shift genuinely, chemically, energetically, you become unrecognizable to your old environment. Not because you've disappeared, but because you've moved beyond the frequency where your past could reach you. This is why they will never see you again, because the version of you they knew, the one who played small, who hesitated, who explained themselves endlessly, has been deconstructed. You've interrupted the pattern, you've stepped into a new timeline, you've taken your attention off the known and placed it firmly into the unknown, which is the birthplace of all creation. This is not a metaphor. This is quantum mechanics, this is neuroscience, this is energy. Identity is not fixed. It's a frequency, and you are the signal sender. When you change the signal not just in thought, but in feeling, in behavior, in being, your world must reflect that shift back to you. Most people wake up in the morning and immediately reconnect with who they were yesterday. The moment the eyes open, the mind starts scanning for a familiar sense of self. What do I have to do today? What did they say about me yesterday? Why do I still feel this way? And just like that, before you've even stepped out of bed, you've signaled your brain to fire in the same sequences, to create the same thoughts, to evoke the same emotions. That familiar emotional cocktail is your identity, your personal reality. But here's the truth. Your personality creates your personal reality. If you keep thinking, feeling, and acting the same way, don't expect your life to change. Breaking the habit of being your old self isn't just about mindset. It's about biology. You have memorized your past into your body. Every thought you think creates a biochemical reaction. That reaction leads to a feeling. That feeling leads to more thoughts. The cycle continues. Over time, those thoughts become hardwired. Those feelings become your emotional baseline, and you begin to live in a predictable future dictated by a memorized past. Most people think they're thinking freely, but they are actually just thinking in repetition. The same 60, 0, 0 to 70, 0, 0 thoughts a day, 90% of which are the same as the day before. That's not freedom, that's programming. To break the habit of your old self, you must step into the unknown. And the unknown is uncomfortable. It's where you can no longer rely on your familiar identity, your story, your traumas, your reactions, your labels. It's where you begin to unmemorize emotions like resentment, fear, guilt, unworthiness, because those emotions are tied to the old you. You cannot create a new future holding on to the emotional anchors of your past. Your body is the unconscious mind. When you've lived in survival mode for so long, when you've been conditioned to stress, to defend, to expect disappointment, your body believes that's who you are. Even if your conscious mind wants change, your body is addicted to the emotions of the past. So, when you begin to meditate, to visualize, to choose new elevated emotions like gratitude or compassion, your body protests. It wants to go back to what it knows, even if it's painful. That's why transformation feels hard. It's not because you're failing. It's because you're unlearning. You must become so conscious of your unconscious self that you don't go unconscious again. That means you watch your thoughts like a hawk. You observe the emotional triggers that used to send you into reactivity, and you pause. You choose differently. The moment you do that, you're no longer the program. You're the programmer. Neuroscience shows us that when we begin to think differently, feel differently, and act differently, we literally begin to rewire the brain. Synaptic connections associated with the old self begin to prune away. New connections are formed. The brain no longer fires in the same patterns. The body starts producing new chemical signals. Your energy field changes. Your electromagnetic signature becomes unrecognizable to those who still live in your past. And this is critical. If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, you're left with the memories of the past. You have to emotionally rehearse the new you every day until your body believes it's real. Because when your body starts believing, it begins to live as if that future has already happened. Now, you're no longer a victim of your history. You're a creator of your destiny, your environment, your conditions, your circumstances. None of that has to change first. You do internally, energetically. You have to stop waiting for your life to change so you can feel better. You must feel better so your life can change. That's the inversion. That's how you get out ahead of your reality instead of constantly reacting to it. You become unfamiliar to your past people start saying you've changed, and you have, because you're no longer firing and wiring the same thoughts, feeling the same feelings, or behaving the same way. You've stepped into the quantum model of change, not based on predictability, but on possibility. You're no longer trying to fix the old self you've chosen to. This is living in reaction. This is the old model of cause and effect. Real transformation begins when we understand that elevated emotion is not the result of change. It is the catalyst for it. If you want to create a new reality, you must first teach your body emotionally what that future feels like before it happens. Your body does not know the difference between a real experience in your life and one you vividly imagine with intensity and presence. When you combine a clear intention, a thought, with an elevated emotion, a feeling, you are broadcasting a new electromagnetic signature into the quantum field. This is how we begin to reprogram the subconscious mind and recondition the body to a new personal reality. Most people try to change while still emotionally invested in their past. They try to create a future from a place of frustration, resentment, fear, or lack. But those emotions are energetically consistent with what they don't want. They're using the same energy that built the old personality to try and create something new, and that simply won't work. The energy of survival cannot create the reality of growth. Elevated emotions like gratitude, love, inspiration, freedom, and joy are not just good experiences. They are biologically and energetically regenerative. Gratitude, for example, is the ultimate state of receivership. The moment you feel gratitude, your body begins to believe it's receiving something now. You're no longer waiting for healing, abundance, or connection. You are experiencing it internally. That internal experience creates coherence in the heart, changes your brainwave patterns, strengthens your immune system, and sends out a new signal to the field. You are literally becoming a vibrational match to your desired future. When you feel inspired, your brain and heart begin to operate in harmony. When you feel joy, you move out of survival and into creation. When you practice compassion, you start seeing yourself and others from a higher perspective. These elevated emotions are what rewire your brain. They lay down new neural networks. They teach your body a new emotional signature. And over time, that internal change becomes your new automatic way of being. But this isn't a one-time event. You don't change by doing this once. You change by becoming it. Daily practice is essential. You must rehearse the future so often in your mind and body that your system begins to believe it's already true. The more you fire and wire those new circuits, the more they become your default. The more you feel those emotions, the more your body memorizes the future before it even unfolds. This is what it means to condition the body to a new mind. Your thoughts are the language of the brain. Your feelings are the language of the body. When you align both in the direction of your vision, your entire system becomes coherent. That coherence is what creates synchronicities. It's what opens doors, draws people into your life, and allows the unknown to reorganize your reality in ways your analytical mind could never predict. You're not waiting for your life to show you a new emotion. You're leading with the emotion, and by doing so, you are no longer the victim of your environment. You are the influencer of it. This flips the model of change from outside into inside out. You feel abundance and begin to attract it. You feel whole and begin to heal. You feel worthy and the opportunities begin to come. You are energetically signaling that your future is now, and the universe begins to respond in kind. Reprogramming the mind through elevated emotion is about mastering your inner world so completely that the outer world bends in response. You're not changing by force, but by frequency, not by hustle, but by coherence. You are stepping into a new signature of being that is no longer attached to the familiar suffering of the past. You are teaching your body what it feels like to live in a future that is already real inside of you. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Long before a word is spoken, before an action is taken, your energy is already communicating everything about you. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every intention you hold emits a frequency, and that frequency broadcasts into the quantum field, where it begins organizing the circumstances, people, and events that match it. This is why your energy speaks louder than words. Think about it. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt tension, even though no one said a word? Or met someone and felt an immediate connection without understanding why? That's not coincidence. That's coherence. That's vibration. That's energy speaking before the voice does. Most people go through life unaware of the energetic signature they're projecting. They focus on what they say or how they appear on the surface, all while broadcasting a completely different signal underneath. They say they want love, but vibrate in insecurity. They say they're grateful, but live in anxiety. They say they're confident, but the fear in their field tells the truth, and the universe doesn't respond to what you say, it responds to the signal you embody. You can't fake energy, you can't hide it. Your body is an electromagnetic instrument, and your thoughts and feelings determine its output. When your heart and brain are in coherence, when your thoughts are clear and your emotions are elevated, you enter a state of alignment. That alignment creates a powerful, attractive field around you. You're no longer just a person. You're a magnet, not because of what you say, but because of how you feel. You could walk into a room and say nothing, but if your energy is rooted in presence, in peace, in self-worth, everyone will feel it. You won't have to explain who you are. You'll radiate it. People will sense something different. They may not be able to articulate it, but they'll feel drawn to you. That's because you're coherent, and coherence is magnetic. This is why inner work matters more than external performance. You can rehearse the perfect words, craft the perfect strategy, and still push people and opportunities away if your energy is misaligned. But when you tune your frequency to the reality you want to live in, when you broadcast the emotion of that future state, you start to collapse time. You bring the future into the present moment by becoming energetically equal to it now. The truth is, energy doesn't lie. If you're holding on to resentment, the bitterness lingers in your field. If you're looping in fear, it constricts your electromagnetic output. If you're replaying old wounds, you're transmitting the past into your future. You don't need to tell the story. Your vibration already is. But when you start living from elevated states, when you choose gratitude in moments of uncertainty or love in moments of stress, you begin to shift your baseline frequency. You begin to tell a different energetic story. Your body, which once memorized the emotional past, begins to acclimate to the future. The neurons in your brain start firing in new patterns. The chemistry in your body starts producing new hormones. And your field starts to emanate signals that align with the person you are becoming. At this level, you don't need to convince anyone of your change. You don't need to prove your worth, argue your value, or seek validation. Your energy becomes your evidence. You're no longer in the business of explanation. You're in the business of embodiment. You become so internally aligned, so emotionally elevated, so present and intentional, that those who used to know the old version of you can no longer recognize you. Not because you said anything, but because you've become someone new, energetically. This is how you influence your reality, not by trying to control outcomes, but by becoming the vibrational match to the outcome you desire. The field doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to coherence. When your inner world is tuned to the frequency of your future, the outer world has no choice but to reflect it. There is a moment in transformation when the old life no longer fits, but the new one hasn't physically shown up yet. This is the void, the unknown, the space between who you were and who you are becoming. Most people retreat here. They go back to the familiar, to what's predictable, even if it's painful. But those who understand the mechanics of the quantum field, those who truly embody change, know that this is the moment to leap, not with your body, but with your energy. You don't wait for the future to come to you. You begin to live from it. The quantum model of reality is not linear. It doesn't operate on cause and effect. It operates on causing an effect. This means you don't have to wait for something outside of you to change how you feel inside. You generate the feeling now. You step into the vibrational frequency of your desired future before there's any proof it exists, and that signal becomes your new point of attraction. This is the quantum leap. Most people live by the memories of the past. They wake up, think about their problems, feel the emotions associated with those memories, and fall back into a familiar identity. In doing so, they keep reaffirming the same version of themselves over and over again. And they wonder why nothing changes, but to truly transform, you have to decide, in the absence of evidence, to think and feel in ways you've never practiced before. Living from the future means you're no longer asking for change. You're embodying it. You're no longer visualizing your desires as something separate from you. You are rehearsing them until your body believes they are already true. This isn't imagination. It's neurological and biological conditioning. When you feel an elevated emotion tied to your future, such as gratitude, wholeness, freedom, or inspiration, you begin to signal new genes in new ways. Your brain starts to build new neural pathways. Your body starts making new chemicals. You are literally becoming someone else. This is not daydreaming. This is deliberate creation. This is choosing a new identity and aligning every thought, every feeling, and every behavior with it. The quantum field is a realm of infinite possibilities where all potential realities already exist. But you can only access the version of life you're vibrationally tuned to. You don't see reality as it is. You see it as you are. So if you want to experience a different outcome, you must first become someone who matches that outcome. This is where most people get stuck. They start the process, but when they don't see immediate results, they fall back into the emotional habits of lack, frustration, or doubt. They think the process isn't working. But the process is the work of becoming, and it requires consistency. You're not trying to force the future to happen. You're aligning with it so precisely that reality begins to bend to your frequency. Living from the future means you begin every day as the person you intend to be, not the person you've been. You wake up and ask, if my future was already here, if I were already healed, already successful, already free, how would I think? How would I feel? How would I act? And then you begin to live in accordance with that answer. You rehearse the elevated emotional state until it becomes familiar, until it feels more real than the emotions tied to your past. When you do this repeatedly, your body no longer remembers the past. It begins to believe in the future. The leap is internal. It's energetic. You shift from identifying with matter and time to aligning with possibility and frequency. You stop trying to predict your path and start trusting the field to organize the how and when. You're no longer chasing your dreams. You're receiving them, because your nervous system, your thoughts, your heart, your actions, all of it, has become a living broadcast of the future you chose long before it arrived.